What do you say? How do you go on? Do you sit and grieve? Do you stargaze? Or do you take to the mantle and do what was being taught and do what was already in motion? Or do you go course way of what was being done? What is the next move? How should we carry on? I mean, many people will already conclude that, well, they had already turned their backs. So right now it is not really important to them, really, if I should say, which sounds totally disgusting. But I mean, saying such things to another individual and of such dignitariate position is quite probably out of place. But leaders globally were under pressure and they were looking to someone to point their fingers at. So most definitely, I mean, you could not go to this certain other heights. I mean, it would have seemed like total this. I don't know what word to use in such an incident. To be honest with you, this is I'm lost for words because like the universe has lost a gem, the mother. So places of terrorism will now look to strike back, rise because the places of mourning, they're in turmoil, like places without a leader. Hence, we must be strong and fit and continue not mourning her death, but continue praising the works that she had already done and continue highlighting them and emboldening them and making them obviously so definitely black and white print obvious to people who are clueless about them. Yeah, because at these times in history, when other individuals would have done other things, as in to pay homage to orphanages where children who were left in destitute on the streets could find a hot meal, get some sort of an education, get clothing and shelter. She was a pillar in these organizations: Red Cross, Salvation Army, orphanages, elderly homes. These were some of her just some of the great things that she have done. And in such of a global pandemic, when those places had become heavily under financial burdens because of economic distress and because of closures of borders and all sorts of things, people were then looking for some way, somehow, to reach out to get somebody to come and give assistance because these places were being heavily under, what should I say, under heavy burdens. So now, what do we do? No, we cannot say what do we do. She would have already instituted that we should continue. We should go on. And if such and such was not very pleased with what had been done, and they believe that it is time for them to take up the mantle and do it on their own, then give them the opportunity. Do not hold them back. Give them that opportunity for them now to do it their way, so that their names could go down in the books of history. Yeah, because So many people are now disgruntled and saying that they have made decisions to turn their back on this pinnacle of a person, this person of great humanitarian efforts, to turn their backs on such a person. How can you turn your back on such a person? You cannot do that. You know, it is not feasible. Yes, you could be a bit annoyed at the situations, at the financial crisis of everywhere. But to definitely say that you would turn your back, meaning that you have nothing to do with whatever that individual had already accomplished, is totally relegated. You must leave this type of insinuations and continue walking the path which was already set for humanitarian efforts. Yet still, we must still be able to be militant and to do good judgment where judgment is due. But as the mother of the universe, the mother of nations, 7 times British, 7 times French was St.lucia, and yet still so heavily dependent on her. She will be dearly missed. So many voyages to the Caribbean islands, visiting St. Lucia. I could remember as a little boy at the RC Boys Primary School, St. Aloysius RC Boys Primary School. Every Independent Day, each student would get $1, a hot dog, and a glass of juice. Yeah, all for free. Because the Queen had given that allowance for each student in each class who was present on that day. I mean, that was a magnificent thing. We all used to wait for that, and we all cherished that moment as kids. That's why we all dearly loved her, and she will be dearly missed. Farewell, my fair lady. Your duty was impeccable, immaculable. It is stillness, and we thank you. We thank you with all our hearts. Goodbye.